Now, to finish off, I want to spend a little time just going through color models and understanding the tool sets and noting their advantages and their perhaps disadvantages. But let's just stick to advantages. So you go, oh, I'm going to go to that tool rather than this tool because it offers me this advantage. There's enough negativity about poor old Photoshop as it is. So let's just look at the advantages. And let's use one of Andre's photo cinema stories as the background to think our way through these different tools. Now, we're looking at all of these different tools. And we note that most of these tools are RGB tools. They use the RGB color model. But then we have a HSL tool, which works in the HSL color model. And we have the selective color tool, which works in the CMYK color model. So let's think this through. I'll stick a curve up there as a quintessential RGB model. Let's add our mighty HSL tool working in these 6 masked slices of the color wheel. We can adjust the parameters to our heart's content, the feathering and what's included or excluded. And last but not least, let's add selective color. And the masking, the selections, we can't modify the way we can in a HSL tool, but it also includes neutrals. But if I'm wanting to adjust the reds in her jacket, for example, it's working in a much smaller color space. And most importantly, in the subtractive color space of CMYK. Here, we're subtracting light. With curves, we're adding light. Because if I go to, let's say, a red curve and do that, image is getting brighter because I'm adding more light, in this case, red light to it. Okay, that makes sense. The problem, though, with working in an RGB color model, and I click on the red jacket, I get a single point on that curve, not the red, green, and blue amplitudes, not 3 points on that curve. I only get a single point on that curve. That is neither the average or the mean of the red, green, blue pixels that I clicked on. It's based on Photoshop's luminosity formula. And I'm changing brightness while I'm changing hue, while I'm changing saturation. Just look at her skin tones. And this is the advantage of working in an RGB tool, that we change hue, saturation, and brightness simultaneously. As I darken her skin tone, it's increasing in saturation. And you can see the hue angle before and after. Hue's changing, saturation is changing, but look at the saturation increase from 39 to 60%, while I'm only darkening at 8%. And the advantage is this is the antithesis of the human visual system. It's called the Hunt principle of contemporary color science. As we darken something, we perceive less colorfulness. So the advantage is when I need to darken something down and do the opposite of the human visual system, increase saturation dramatically, this is the tool to use. And with all of these tools, we put them on an adjustment layer, blending on luminosity, locks the hue in. So at least the color of her skin won't change, but the saturation will. That's how all RGB tools work. Now, I'm going to go on to HSL and selective color, but I'd be remiss if I didn't do a little theory. And I'm going to use Photoshop's color picker to help us understand this. And I'll just select pure red, 255 levels of red, 0 green, 0 blue. Now, this is a marvelous tool, a learning tool, not just a doing tool, because it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sets of color coordinates representing different color models describing the same color. In our ubiquitous RGB photography color model, pure red can't be more than 255 levels of red in 8-bit notation. No green light, no blue light. That's pure red. There's its hexadecimal number for that web page. There, in HSB reporting, 0 degrees by definition is red at 100% saturation and 100% brightness. That's pure red. That's how it's represented in the HSB notation. In the device-independent LAB notation, they're the numbers. And on an offset printing press in the US web-coated SWAP V2 color gamut, 99% of the magenta ink and all the yellow ink with no black ink and no minus red cyan ink, they are the equivalent. Now, before we move on, what is saturation and what is brightness? because in talking about the difference between color models, and in particular the advantages they give us, are primarily about how we edit the color and the tonal compositions independently of one another. Or in other words, if I can't, as in RGB tools, edit the tone without affecting the saturation, then why is it changing? And why doesn't it change in the HSL tool the same way? So let's use this as a calculator using the HSB notation and watch what happens to our RGB notation if I reduce the saturation to 50%. I now have 128 levels of green light, blue light, and red light, the neutral density in that color mix. So saturation is the difference between the darkest and brightest channels as a percentage of the brightest channel. That is what saturation is. Okay, so if I go back to 100% saturation, what is brightness? Let's find out. Let's go 50% brightness. Now I'm coming down this axis, my brightness axis, heading towards black. And the amplitude of the red channel is now half of what it was. Brightness is the brightest channel as a percentage of the maximum brightness that channel can be. So if I go 50% saturation and 50% brightness, can you work out the green and blue components? In order to maintain 50% brightness, the brightest channel has to stay at 128 out of a possible 255 levels of maximum brightness. But in order to reduce the saturation, I've got to add 50% neutral density, 50% gray. So when I do that, I've added 64 levels of green and blue light. So now there's a total of 64 levels of gray. Red plus green plus blue equals gray in a well-behaved color gamut like sRGB. And that is how saturation and brightness works. So with that in mind, why, when I do this to my image, am I getting this massive increase in saturation when I'm darkening it down? So in an RGB color model, the brightest channel is decreasing. Therefore, the percentage difference between the darkest and brightest channel as a percentage of the brightest channel is going to increase, be a greater percentage, which is what saturation is. So it's not Photoshop, it's the RGB color model that is giving us a hard time. But to be fair, remember why we do use the RGB color model so much is because equal red light, green light, and blue light computes from black to white into neutrality. So it's ideal to convert binary data into an RGB color model because it's so easy to white balance, gray balance, and black balance and remove the blue sky tint and the shadows up in the mountains. It's brilliant for things like that. And that's why here I might use it when I want to darken and intensify colors to add all this otherness, intangibles, and ambiguity into this picture. So if I go and increase the saturation in HSL, remember, this saturation model bears no relationship to our human visual system. So everything becomes equally saturated or equally desaturated. So when I select and begin manipulating those reds, just look at her jacket and look at the city lighting behind her. I don't even need my info palette to tell me what's going on. My eyes say, as I decrease saturation, decrease colorfulness, it gets darker. And as I increase saturation in the HSL color model, it gets brighter. So the HSL color model, even though it is not based on the human visual system, nevertheless, as we increase saturation, lightness does increase. And you can see this if you use the lightness slider, which is adding lightness or darkness to the image. You can see we darken and desaturate it, which is more like the human visual system. That's why I would use HSL when I want the ability to increase colorfulness and have the brightness also increase. When it's needed, it's better than trying to use an RGB tool, which does the opposite. Now, last but not least, we come to selective color. And selective color is a ripper because of black pigment, where we can add density and modeling. And as we remove black, the colors become more pure because there's less gray component replacement, which from your previous tutorials, if you've attended, you'll understand. But it's working in a subtractive color space. Now, I know that opposite end is red. So that is the cyan red channel because cyan pigment, also known as minus red, minus green light, also known as magenta, and minus blue light, also known as yellow. But what this subtractive color space enables us to do in a subtle way is control the effects of two RGB curves simultaneously. Because what is cyan? If it's minus red, it's green plus blue. And what is magenta? If it's minus green, it is red plus blue, and so on. So it enables us to edit an RGB image in a small color gamut, meaning these controls are very subtle. Look at 100%. It's nothing compared to the full gamut of the image, because the CMYK color space is so much smaller than sRGB. So it gives us incredible control and finesse over specific colors. And for more on this, the last 3D Look Creator tutorial went into working in different gray component replaced CMYK color models, doing all manner of extraordinary things. And in a portrait, the unwanted skin color is cyan minus red. So selective color is fantastic when we need to edit the unwanted color in an image, which is another version of, it's not always about adding to its structure. It's often about removing from its structure. This is the tool that colorimetrically, just like the clouds I removed from the landscape to clarify the structural drawing composition and the intangibles that I wanted associated with it. This is the colorimetric tool for doing the same thing on our color composition. For example, in a blue sky, I would be using the yellow component and the cyan component to remove red and to remove blue to turn that blue sky into exactly the sky color I need it to be, to evoke without hesitation the feelings, the memories, the nostalgia, the associations, the history, the politics, the whatever it is that you bring to bear as being witness to what this image actually means. So I rest my case. And hopefully I've done a half-decent job in stitching together all of those distinctions, removal, addition, and so forth, and to a sufficient enough extent that you get the answers to those questions. And thank you for sharing them with us, along with the images that you've submitted. And you can then move forward with more confidence, with more purpose in a program like Photoshop. And little by little realize how simple it is, how basic it is. It's not 3D Look Creator. It's not DaVinci Resolve. Okay, it's pretty basic stuff when you understand it from these first principles. So it's that two-hander yet again that I have at the end of the question list. It's not just about overcoming the self-inflicted, self-induced problems in Photoshop. It's actually going, well, hang on, RGB tools give me the advantage of darkening and increasing colorfulness at the same time. Yes, but I will only use an RGB tool when that is what I want the outcome to be. Of course, blend it on luminosity to preserve the hue if you don't want the hue to change, while all the time adding, accruing, calculating that value that we then bestow on our images in the hope that we engender in them, at least for ourselves in the first instance, not for anyone else who may happen upon them at any time, in any place, anywhere. Those revelations, those intangibles, that ambiguity that makes the picture not only more interesting, but engaging, engulfing, transcribing, transporting through our interpretation of it.